Hello everyone. In this video, we'll see deployment related commands with regards to Kubernetes. Yeah, let's jump in. So before we start further, so this is the previous one. We have seen it, the replica set in the previous video. So all I'm going to do is just a quick modification in the same file so that a deployment kind will be get deployed. So before that, I'm going to create a new branch for deployment. So this is just about for documenting the code. So that's why I'm just creating a new branch and all that. In case if you require these code that I write, you can very well download it from the GitHub that I'm gonna paste in the video description. So here, what the changes you wanted to make is API version. It's the same. So instead of replica set, you'll have to mention deployment, and then you can name it any name you can do make it. My app and the deployment. That's all I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna take off the labels. It's not required. Metadata and the name. So instead of replica set, let's just put it as deployment here, and then let the labels be the same, like my app front end, or you can even say like front end. Let's do one thing. Let's spin up a Nginx. So I'll just make it as front. It doesn't matter here, but just to stick with the logic that Nginx can be a front end, right? So yeah, let's name the container as Nginx and the image as Nginx. So the replicas, I make it as two. Again, rest are all the same. So here we made it as front end. So we need to make the selector as front end as well. So tier equal to front end, so that this deployment will be mapped with the pods with the label with the tier front end. So that's all that you need to do for a deployment script. So what I'm going to do, let me just quickly see what are all the pods that are running. So it's taking it some time. Okay, so now all you can see it's just the default service object that is running. So I'm gonna run this command to deploy the deployment. So this will create a deployment, which would again create a replica set, and underneath that replica set, it will create two pods. So let's just kubectl get all. So once you do this, you'd get to know that there are like two pods that is being deployed because we have mentioned it as two replicas. And the deployment, under the deployment, you will see a replica set will also be get deployed, right? Because that's what it is. When you spin up a deployment, it will spin up a replica set as well. So two desired, two current, and none of them are ready. So let me just run it again. So once you run it again, you will find that the pods will be running state, or it's still in the creating state. So this is what it is. Let's wait for a moment to get it up and running. All right, so it takes some time for to bring up that pod running state. So let me just rerun that again to show you that it is up and running right now. So there are like a couple of commands that you can use like imperative command to create a deployment rather than writing a YAML file. You can just create a imperative command, and you just edit the file, and then you can run it. So let's look into like few of the commands which is related to deployment. As usual, you can do kubectl describe deployment and the deployment name. So whatever the deployment name that you have given, it's my app dash deployment. So that will tell you like more information about the deployment that we have spun up, like what are all the selectors, and is it a rolling update? So we'll look into it more on this rolling update later on. But this is how you gotta see like the information about the deployment and the image that has been used, etc., etc. Yeah. So what this is one of the command, and if you wanted to edit the deployment, you can use kubectl edit and the deployment, and then you go with the deployment name again. So this by doing this, you can edit the deployment that is currently running in that cluster. So in my case, it will open up a notepad, the configuration that is running in the in the cluster. So you can change the, for example, let me just change the replica here. So it's mentioned here under the spec, you would find it, not under the status. Status is something that has been running. It's the current status of that container pods, all right? So this is exactly the configuration that we have, it has been using. So if I make it as 3, save it, just close it. So you see that the prompt is waiting for me to make some changes into that notepad. So once I saved it and I closed it, it says like it is edited right now. So now you can see how many pods are running. Then it must be 3. Kubectl get pods. So this is how you can even extend the pod being run in different nodes actually. So if you have more nodes, you can let it run. So this would have been spin up in the 3rd node. So this is one way. And if you talk about the imperative commands for deployment, then all you have to do is, before I run this, let me just delete this deployment, because this is taking some resources in my laptop. So let me just quickly delete this. So deleting is nothing but kubectl delete and the deployment, and then the deployment name. So that's all you have to do, which will delete the entire deployment, and the pods will also get terminated. So let me just show you that. Kubectl get all. So which would which would show you what all the resources are still running and what are all terminating right now. So there's just one part is left to be deleted. So it's getting terminating right now, and it will get terminated. So the imperative command way, it would be like kubectl create deployment -- we can say image, maybe like nginx, and the deployment name, sorry, image equal to nginx. Where is it? So nginx and the deployment name, and then you'll have to that's all you need to do actually. So if you wanted to redirect to a YAML file to get the basic syntax of the deployment, and you can make some changes to it, and then you can run that file, right? For that you can do the redirect. But to create a deployment in an imperative way, this is all that you wanted to do, like kubectl create deployment and the image name with the deployment name. This is all that it would require to spin up a deployment actually. So kubectl get all. So this will show you whether the deployment has been successfully done. So the pods and the replica set, as well as deployment. So if you see here, the deployment name is nginx. That what is we have mentioned here, and the image, it would have been spun up right now. If you describe this part, it would be nginx. So a replica set has been spun up. So this is all it is. But the thing is, it'll be having just one part if you run this. So what you can do, probably you can redirect to a file, and then you edit the file with the replica's number that you want, and then you run the file, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this deployment nginx. And there is also another way that you can do it. You can add that attribute in the command itself. Kubectl create deployment image nginx, nginx, then you can mention the replicas here itself. This is also will work. If I mentioned it as two, that would create a deployment with two pods. So kubectl get pods. I'm gonna say kubectl get pods. Okay, it's taking some time to get my input. So kubectl get pods will show you now two pods will be running based on the replicas that we have mentioned in the previous command. So this is also another way that you can do it, or not only just the replicas, but if you wanted to make some changes on the labels, or if you wanted to add something like CPU, limits or memory limits and all that, you can do that such a way by redirecting the deployment, redirecting the into a YAML file, and you edit the YAML file and you run it. So that is the best way to do this. Let me show you how this is done. This is the same way how you can do it in the how you do in the first video of creating a pod in a pod with an imperative command, right? So create kubectl, create deployment, and nginx, nginx, and the deployment name. Then you can mention the replicas here, 3, then dry run it. So I'm gonna redirect it to the YAML format and deploy that YAML.